Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we've got the pleasure of watching Robo Player 1 inside the brand new Object 268 version 4. This Tier 10 Soviet tank destroyer just replaced the Object 263 in update 922. The Object 263 it still remains in the game, but the Su-122-54 completely out the game, at least for now. Maybe it'll come back as a reward tank in the future, possibly. I have no idea, but then again, I don't think so. I never thought that was a very popular tank, and I think it's not really going to be missed. The Object 263, now in at Tier 9, this vehicle takes its place at Tier 10, and already it's making quite a fuss in World of Tanks. Lots of people already calling this vehicle overpowered for whatever reason, but that's always going to happen. At least I guess until people figure out what its strengths are, its weaknesses are, and maybe there aren't quite so many of them on the battlefield, and there are a lot of them at the moment. Of course, if everybody's had an Object 263, or a lot of people have grinded their way towards it, and now they get this tank, they want to test it out, they want to play it, it's something fresh. But eventually it'll die down. This always happens in the first few days of a patch, and now you don't see too many badges in the game, for example, or even super conquerors. But still, vehicles like the IS-7 and E100 remain. Those things are just so darn popular. So, the Object 268 version 4, why are people calling this tank overpowered? Well, it's definitely not the gun. It's not the main armament, the weaponry of this tank. Because while it does have a 152mm main armament, it doesn't really have the alpha damage that you will be accustomed to if you have the Object 268, the original Tier 10 Soviet tank destroyer. 650 on the main armament of this tank is just rather underwhelming when you hit, and the rate of fire doesn't make up for it at all. This vehicle actually has a worse rate of fire than the Object 268 and also 100 alpha damage less. And the penetration on the gun, well, it's not exactly incredible, but it's not terrible at 293 on the standard, but it's the heat rounds that really do suffer. 360, I mean, that's still great, but it's not 395 tank destroyer great. And the high explosive rounds as well, your alpha damage goes up to 840 with 90mm of penetration. That's not even close to I believe, the 1,150 high explosive rounds that a lot of the other 155mm and 152mm wielding Tier 10 tank destroyers can deal. And so, even the gun depression isn't exactly remarkable. What is the gun depression exactly? It is 5 degrees. Well, it's not close to an IS-7, but it is identical to an Object 268, I guess. So what is it that's making this tank really good? Well, the frontal armor is pretty decent. Do you see how Robo Player 1 is just sitting out in front of E100s, Object 430s, and even the Guerrilla's high explosive round doesn't exactly dominate him there, only dealing 357 damage. Although, I'm not suggesting this tank has incredible all-round armor. Its side armor is not impressive at 100, and its rear armor is 45, which is awful. It does have some top weak points from artillery, so try to avoid the high explosive rounds, unlike you might do on something like a Jagdpanzer E100, for example. But nevertheless, the armor is fantastic. Its lower plate armor is 300mm. So my first #1 tip to you is don't get baited into shooting the lower plate. This is a big shot trap. Unless you're firing 340mm of heat pen plus, and even then you're not 100% likely to go through the front of the tank, don't get baited into that. Secondly, don't get baited into the superstructure. This is great as well. And also the cupola that we see up here, this kind of viewports, or it's almost like a periscope. It always looks funny. It looks a bit like something from Star Wars when I look at it from here. But this as well, for some reason, it looks like it should be a weak point, but it's not. It's 250mm thick, so sure, if you've got 270mm of penetration, you have a flush shot, go for it. But otherwise, don't waste your time, especially in lower tier tanks. And Robo Player crests the ridge and shuts down the also new Object 430U there, hey? And so, this tank, it's all about flanking it. Hopefully you can immobilize it, take its tracks off, and get its side, and then it's not really going to be doing very much. And also, you don't have to take that much damage to be able to get into that scenario, because its DPM is so low at below 2,300, when a lot of Tier 10 tank destroyers, especially the one that this replaced, had 3,000 DPM. And the Alpha as well, 650, well, that's not exactly the worst thing to take in World of Tanks. If then you think you can completely immobilize the vehicle and take it out. But the Object 268 version 4 is not slow, and considering all of its armor is focused towards the front, it does make an exceptionally good assault tank, and that is what a lot of people have been playing it as. Now, RoboPlayer has taken half of the allotted time that 10-minute time. He's taken 5 minutes to get into a position where finally he realizes that this game isn't going to be won by itself and it's time to take the fight to the enemy team. And a good start taking out the Object 430U on the enemy team. Setting him on fire as well. That 650 Alpha wouldn't have quite managed to take out the remaining 179 hit points, even if it had rolled exceptionally high. But nevertheless, that fire deals the damage, and I guess Robo might have been going for a ram there on the 263. Sorry, not on the 263, on the Object 430. Oh my word, all of these object names, they're getting really crazy to keep a hold of, and I'm sure I'm going to make lots of mistakes in my commentary. Nevertheless, the Gorilla 15 pops over the ridgeline, puts a heat round right into the side of Robo Player there, and that is 690 hit points that he isn't going to be getting back, but still up to 4,600 in the first 4.5 minutes of this game. Not too bad. And now Robo is locking the Gorilla in place, or at least keeping him spotted in this stalemate, and the artillery puts a Hail Mary of a shot there into the side of the Gorilla, penetrating shot from a Conqueror gun carriage there for 1,234. Wow. You don't see those happen very often. But then again, back in the day, that would have probably been death for the enemy Gorilla. Well, it's almost certainly, because that thing used to have 2,000 alpha damage. So it looks like the Gorilla realizes that he has to push forwards. The artillery is marking out the map. The artillery is also doing a fantastic job at communicating, saying he's got 6 seconds left on the reload. So it looks like Robo Player is going to just chill right now and wait for the artillery to put a shot on the Gorilla, maybe to force his hand. But also, I'm not sure if Robo Player really has this much time to hang around here. The Conqueror gun carriage has a 37-second reload. Can he really afford to wait there? I guess Robo doesn't want to lose another 750 hit points, so I can't blame him. But oh, I don't know. I think maybe he could have tried to swing around here, try and use a little bit of the gun depression, or even go from above. It looks like he's managing to think through that. Wow, very fetching blue wheels on this tank there, Robo Player. +1 for style. Even the Finnish flag on the side. I can see what you might be doing there. So he crests the ridge, takes down the Gorilla. Great. Stalemate broken. 3 minutes left on the game, but still 6 tanks left on the enemy team to deal with here. So now he loads an armor-piercing round and he spots a Stridsvagn 103B. So probably one of the best defensive snipers, or the best sniper in the game, versus an assault tank. And oh dear, I think you can see what's about to happen. Robo wedges the tier 10 Swedish tank destroyer up in the sky. Seems to be doing a little bit of damage to him, but he keeps pushing forwards with his great engine power. Wow, that 1,500 horsepower engine just obliterates that tier 10 Swedish TD. Wow, out with the old, in with the new. Could this be a passing of the guard? Not sure, but that was an absolute moment. One of my favorite things from this replay. And Robo Player must be absolutely chuckling to himself at just making that tier 10 Swedish tank destroyer look really stupid. So Robo now engages the Object 430U, nearly said Object 263 again, and he rolls pretty high there to do 722 damage. But you know, if he'd been using another tier 10 tank destroyer, that would have been a low roll for another tier 10 TD. And that you don't have the DPM now to be able to engage against the 430, so it's all about the positives and the negatives of this tank. Oh, right through the, I guess, the lower plate there. Didn't hit the upper plate, otherwise that most likely would have bounced off the Object 430U's fantastic upper hull armor. Now Robo Player 1 on a Top Gun, 3 tanks left on the enemy team. And he has a Gorilla left. The E50M and the IS-7 made their way into the field to finish off that Conqueror gun carriage that was giving him so much help. However, doesn't look like the Gorilla is going to be able to camp by himself, but with 2 tanks here, they should easily be able to do it. But the Gorilla, for some reason, decides to go round the corner, but then he pulls back. Okay, Robo Player finds a shot into the lower plate of the Object 268 version 4. That was a heat round. There was 360mm, more than enough there to contest the lower plate armor. But that Object 268 is still on 700 hit points, and I'm not sure what Robo Player is doing here. He just leaves the Gorilla to flank around, I guess because he wants to deal with the E50M. Now, I can understand that, because he actually rams him. He rams a tier 10 German medium tank that is infamous for being one of the best rammers in the game. And now I see exactly what he's thinking. He was never going to be able to win there by allowing the medium tank to flank him. So he's going all in right now. He reverses, stops the 268 from shooting him in the side, points his gun towards him as if to fend him off, and then turns his attention back towards the IS. He's going to need to plant a second heat round into the side of this IS-7's armor if he wants to deal with him quickly before the IS-7 fires. The IS-7 ricochets off him, so he's able to finish him off. Okay, Now it's getting tense. 27 seconds left on this replay. Object 268 version 4 versus Object 268 version 4. What is RoboPlayer going to do here on a Radley Walters medal? 9,800 damage dealt, 2,600 assistance damage. They both bounce off each other's lower plate. Oh no, 10 seconds left. There's going to have to be an ammo rack or a fire here if RoboPlayer wants to come through this one, unless he rolls exceptionally high. Come on, put one through the upper plate and set. Oh no. The clock runs out. 44 hit points left. No exceptional high roll was achieved here. No ammo rack. 10,500 damage. Heartbreak, ladies and gentlemen. But RoboPlayer left nothing in the tank here, went all out, and after he crested that ridge to go for that Object 430U, we got to see exactly why this is probably one of the most powerful assault tanks in the game right now. So consolation prizes here for RoboPlayer 1, an ace tanker for 1,111 base experience points. That's for a loss. This would be 1,667 base, considering the courageous resistance. For his Radley Walters medal for 8 kills, a high caliber for that 10,500 damage dealt, and with a premium account he makes a modest profit too. So the Object 268 version 4, I think the jury's still out about how crazy this tank is, as we can see that some players just didn't exactly do exceptionally in this vehicle, while other players were doing pretty darn well. But it's undoubtedly a great assault tank, and my #1 recommendation is to not get baited into shooting its thick frontal armor, especially that lower plate. And also be careful because it goes backwards very quickly indeed. It's got a 22 km/h reversed speed limit, so you're probably best to track it before you try to flank it, and then hopefully you can lock it in place for good. Nevertheless, RoboPlayer 1, congratulations to you on a mammoth game, irrelevant of the heartbreak. And thank you so much for uploading it on the WOT Replays website and also putting my name in the title. And you are darn right, this was a battle and a half, buddy. So I hope all of you lovely ladies and gentlemen enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's now time for another World of Tanks Take Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, 669 of you voted, and the winner is the M48A1 pattern, which is my most played vehicle of all time in World of Tanks. And so come along right now as I work my way from tier 1 all the way up to tier 10 of my original medium tank line, so you can see if it's a line that's maybe worth grinding, or alternatively, if you already have the vehicles, maybe pick up a few tips and tricks along the way. So I'm really looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.